It was an ordinary Tuesday night when Emma, a single mother and janitor at the city's tallest skyscraper, was finishing her late shift. The floors gleamed under her diligent care, and the faint hum of the air conditioning was her only companion. Life hadn't been easy for her, raising her 10-year-old daughter, Lily, alone, with bills piling up and dreams of a better future always just out of reach. But Emma had pride in her work, and more importantly, she had a heart full of resilience. Meanwhile, in one of the upper floors, Ethan Blackwood, a billionaire tech mogul, was finishing a high-stakes business meeting. With his tailored suit slightly rumpled and dark hair falling into his sharp, angular face, he embodied the image of power and control. But behind his calm exterior was a man weighed down by pressures no one could truly understand. His empire demanded perfection, and he had little room for mistakes, or vulnerability. As Emma pushed her mop down the gleaming marble corridor, a sudden, jarring scream echoed from the floor above. Her heart raced. Without thinking, she grabbed the emergency extinguisher and sprinted toward the sound. On the top floor, a fire had broken out in one of the executive offices. Smoke curled into the hallway, and flames licked the edges of the doorway. Ethan was trapped. A heavy beam had fallen, pinning him near the office window. He struggled, but the fire was spreading, and panic was beginning to claw at his composed demeanor. "Help me," he shouted, his voice raw with fear. Emma didn't hesitate. Adrenaline surged through her veins as she ran toward him. "Hold on. I've got you," she shouted over the roar of the flames. She tried to lift the beam, but it was too heavy. The fire alarm blared, smoke stinging her eyes, making it harder to breathe. In that split second, Emma did something neither of them expected. She leaned close to Ethan and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was desperate, urgent, but more importantly, it was an improvised method of performing the emergency resuscitation technique she had read about years ago. She had never imagined she'd use it on anyone, let alone a billionaire. Ethan gasped, coughing violently as the smoke and flames threatened to overtake them, but Emma kept her focus. After a tense moment, Ethan's coughing slowed, and he could breathe again. Emma grabbed his arm and pulled with all her strength. Inch by inch, she managed to free him from under the beam. Together, they stumbled toward the stairwell, flames licking the walls around them. The building's fire alarms echoed in their ears, and the smoke was thick, but Emma's determination never wavered. Once outside, gasping for fresh air, Ethan looked at her in shock. His suit was singed, his usually flawless hair disheveled, and his chest heaving from both fear and smoke inhalation. But it was Emma who stole the scene, covered in soot, her uniform torn slightly, yet her eyes burning with courage and resolve. "Are you okay?" she asked, panting, hands trembling. Ethan could only nod, still trying to comprehend what had just happened. You saved my life," he managed to say, his voice raw. "I don't even know what to say." Emma shrugged, trying to play it off. "I didn't do it for praise. I did it because I couldn't stand by and do nothing. Anyone in that situation. I'd hope someone would do the same for me or my daughter." Ethan was quiet for a moment, studying her. There was something magnetic about her, a raw authenticity he had never encountered in the polished world he inhabited. He extended a hand, hesitating slightly before speaking. "I owe you everything. I can't just let this go." Emma shook her head. "I don't need anything from you. Really. I just need to get home to my daughter." But Ethan couldn't let it go. Over the next few weeks, he found himself thinking about her incessantly, the courage in her eyes, the way she moved through the world with quiet strength, the softness beneath her resilience. He started showing up at the building more often, ostensibly to oversee renovations and repairs, but always with the excuse to see her. Emma, cautious and wary, tried to keep her distance. She wasn't used to people like Ethan Blackwood, wealthy, powerful, surrounded by privilege she had never known. But slowly, his gestures, his genuine concern, and the way he treated her like a person, not a charity case, started to chip away at her defenses. One evening, Ethan invited her to dinner, not as a boss or a billionaire, but as a man genuinely interested in getting to know her. The candlelight reflected in her eyes, revealing traces of exhaustion, hope, and a spark she hadn't let anyone see in years. Over the course of months, what began as gratitude and admiration blossomed into something neither of them expected: love. But it wasn't a fairy tale without challenges. Emma had to navigate the scrutiny of society, the pressure of stepping into a world so different from her own, and the fear of losing herself in a whirlwind she wasn't prepared for. Ethan had to learn to value vulnerability over perfection, and to see worth in the heart of someone who had nothing materially, but everything emotionally. Their love became a story of resilience, courage, and unexpected connection. Emma's daughter, Lily, found in Ethan a kind of father figure she never knew she needed, and the trio formed a bond that transcended money, status, and circumstance. Years later, looking back at that fateful night, Ethan often marveled at the twist of fate that led him to Emma. A janitor had saved his life with nothing but courage, quick thinking, and a kiss that defied the ordinary. In that moment, everything changed, not just for him, but for all three of them. Emma often laughed when recounting the story to friends, how a single moment of bravery had turned her life upside down, in the most beautiful way imaginable. She had never imagined that saving a billionaire's life would lead to a love deeper than she had ever dreamed and a family she had longed for. And Ethan? He never missed a chance to whisper, just before falling asleep, "You didn't just save my life that night, Emma. You saved my heart too." What began as a desperate act became a lifetime of love, proving that heroism doesn't wear a crown, it often wears the simplest uniform, moves with the purest intentions, and acts with a fearless heart. In the end, everything truly did change that night. Not because of wealth, power, or chance, but because courage and love met at the perfect moment. Word count: 1,000.